That's why I say it's very important when you get on a pump to learn about when the insulin is peaking, right?
Yeah.
And what type of insulin you're using, and work with your physician and especially your diabetes educator,
Yes.
myself, because there's constant controls that can be, there's constant parameters that can be adjusted. You know, we go through phases in our life to where we're maybe having some hormone adjustments and we're eating more than normal, right? And that insulin to carb ratio may need to be adjusted. As we get older, we get more insulin resistant, even with type 1 in some people. So
absolutely.
So yeah, it could be too complicated. It just couldn't have been a good fit, maybe because they lack the education needed.
Welcome to the Type 1 and Midlife podcast. My name is Melissa Slemp, a certified nutritional health coach and the founder and CEO of Abundant Health with Melissa, where I help women with type 1 diabetes to feel more empowered and live their best life despite their diagnosis. Each week, I will bring conversations and strategies from guest experts and my experience living with type 1 for over 40 years now. So if you're a woman ready to redefine how diabetes can look and feel for you, then the Type 1 and Midlife podcast is the show for you. Well, hello and welcome. It is 2024. Happy New Year. This show and this episode will air on January 1st, 2024. So we are so happy to be in here today. And in this new year and for this new year, we thought it would be a perfect time to explore all the new technologies available. So today I am joined by Stormie Baxter. She is a certified pump trainer. And in today's episode, we're going to dive into the world of insulin pumps and technology. So Stormie she is currently a program director and diabetes educator at My Diabetes Tutor. She leads programs and focuses on using technology to enhance better outcomes for people with diabetes. And as a certified pump trainer, she's helping patients explore insulin pump therapy. And personally, Stormie has lived with type 1 diabetes for 33 years now, and her daughter for 16 years now. So she's obviously very deeply committed to diabetes management and education. And today we help you to leverage technology and answer those common questions and issues that type 1s often encounter with their current systems. And we discover different types of pumps you can consider to better fit your lifestyle and why people typically switch from MDI to a pump. And just to decide, is it their choice? Is it your choice? Or does it tend to be something that is driven by the doctor? So Stormie will introduce a brand new system today. It's called the iLet Bionic Pancreas. Very excited to share this new system with you listeners today. And we talk about the pros and cons and how to choose the best device for you as she shares the 4 top devices that are out there right now. She gives us details and operating information on all of these. And we talk about relying on a pump to make critical decisions and disconnecting from the daily calculating daily insulin intake. So it's nice to just kind of let go and let the pump do the work. And I share my own MDI story. I continue to be on multiple daily injections, and both Stormie and I said, well, maybe this episode will put me over the edge or get me to the point where I am ready to switch over to an insulin pump. So tune in and learn how much I learn and how the discussion goes to make that decision. Again, it is a brand new year, so you never know what I may choose to do this year. And we talk about things like our A1C, whether it's easier to manage using a pump, the pros and cons around that. And finally, we provide steps for our listeners to decide if an insulin pump is right for you, and that's myself included, and to help set the right expectations when choosing the best type, so the system that's going to work best for you and your lifestyle. So tune in today for a tech savvy episode where we're going to unravel the world of insulin pumps and try to better equip you to make informed decisions about your diabetes management. And be sure to see how you can connect with Stormie with any questions on pump therapy. You can see all of her contact information right here in the show notes. We hope you enjoy this episode. Just a reminder that nothing you hear on this Type 1 and Midlife podcast should be a substitute for professional medical advice. Please always consult your medical professional before changing your diet, insulin dosages, or healthcare plan. Well, hello and welcome back. This is Melissa, Type 1 in Midlife podcast. And I'm here today with Stormie Baxter. Welcome, Stormie. So glad to have gotten to know you.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes. And you know, we have my maiden name is Baxter.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I thought maybe we had shared that before. Maybe I didn't mention it to you. So that obviously sticks out because it's not a name that we see or hear a lot. So,
right.
And I'm assuming that's your married name.
It is.
Okay, so you married that.
Yes, maybe we're related through marriage. Yes,
maybe.
Or distantly.
We'll have to look into that, right? Look at that family tree somewhere. Well, welcome. And today we're gonna talk insulin pump therapy, and this is a big topic. And obviously, it's a big topic. It's an ongoing, changing topic, and we are eager to know what's out there. How to shop. I'll use the word shop for an insulin pump because that's kind of what it is. We're kind of testing the different devices or testing out the different devices to see what's going to work with us. But let's start with, tell us a little bit about yourself and your own diagnosis story and where you are now with your day-to-day care.
Sure. Well, like you said, my name is Stormie Baxter. There's a story behind my name, but we'll save that for another podcast because people often ask, how did you get the name Stormie? Mm-hmm. Right?
Great question. Yes.
Yes. But I was diagnosed at age 19. I was in college, and typical presentation of symptoms as textbook as they come for type 1, very, very thirsty, weight loss, was diagnosed with a blood sugar of 980 and hospitalized. Yes. And so, and of course was placed on insulin, right away. And so I've lived with type 1 now for 33 years. So now from that, everybody knows my age,
okay.
Which is fine. Yes. Which is, I really
we're transparent here, right?
We're good friends. And so, yes. And so I've been on insulin shots, of course, to start. We call it MDI, multiple daily injections, back then. And then about 10 years after my diagnosis, my endocrinologist, I was living in Las Vegas, Nevada at the time. I had a very, very competent endocrinologist. His name was Brian Borelowitz. I don't believe he practices anymore, but at any rate, he asked me to consider an insulin pump. And I was very, very reluctant, just because I was young and didn't want anything attached to my body. Right. And there's several reasons why people are reluctant to consider insulin pumps, but I think we all need to do our due diligence in considering it. And what I usually tell my patients now is, take a look at it and just do your homework and possibly consider giving it a try, because it's not one size fits all. And you can always change back to your insulin shots. It's as simple as that. With your physician guidance, you can switch back to shots if the pump is not a good fit for you. So yes, I have been pumping in quotes, air quotes, pumping for a good 20 years now. I've worn almost every pump on the market.
Yes, a good indicator of what we're talking about, right?
Yes.
So you yourself have kind of switched it up. Yeah.
Yes, I like to, as a diabetes educator, I like to know what is out there, and I like to try all of them because each of them have different features that people like for different reasons, pros and cons. And like I said, not one size fits all. And some people try them and say, no, it just didn't work out for me. I'm going to go back to my own way, because with diabetes, you have to find what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
You really do.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere along that line in pumping, my daughter was also diagnosed with type 1. So I am a parent of a daughter with type 1 diabetes. And she also wears an insulin pump and loves it. And so she's worn several different of the insulin pumps as well. And you know what? We manage every day-to-day situation. Every day is different, as you know, with type 1.
Absolutely. It sure is. It sure is.
And
Yeah.
we found what works for us. But I definitely, as my personal preference, love my current regime.
Nice,
So,
nice. And that kind of, well, tell us a little bit about the companies that you are connected with right now. And then we'll talk more about kind of get into the technology that you're helping to leverage.
Sure. A little bit of history. I was a school teacher, actually. For many, many years. I was an educator in Las Vegas, Omaha, and Denver, Colorado. And now I live in northern Utah. But I was a school teacher, and I'm a person with diabetes. So I'm like, why not become a diabetes educator? I have both diabetes and I'm an educator. So why not
Combine it
those?
all, right?
Yes. And there was a shortage of diabetes educators in the nation. We all know that. Certified diabetes care and education specialists is what they used to be. We used to be called CDEs, certified diabetes educators, and now that title has lengthened. But I decided, hey, why not go that route? And they have what is called a unique qualifications pathway, where if you're not a registered nurse or a registered dietitian, you can have a master's degree in a health-related field, and you can obtain the continuing education credits and the experiential hours, and you can sit for the exam. And that was a route that I took. So I did a career change about 3 years ago and became.
Oh, it is recent. Okay.
Yes, just 3 years ago.
I've been following all that you're doing to the community, and I could have looked at that and say, man, she's been doing this for years.
Oh, thank you.
You seem to be so rooted in it. So that's cool.
Just 3 years ago, I became a certified diabetes care and education specialist. And then after that, I became a certified pump trainer for an insulin pump company. And I work currently for a virtual diabetes educational service called My Diabetes Tutor. Look us up. We're out there. We just rolled out our new website. Things are growing. They're looking great. We serve several patients in the California area, and we're branching out nationwide. Nice. And of course, virtual education now is the new wave.
It sure is,
yes, we can meet with people in the comfort of their own home. Most insurance companies will cover 10 educational sessions.
Nice.
So yes.
Very good. That's good. Yeah. And I'm seeing that in the community or in the health space as well, the health insurance space, that they are opening up a lot more. Specifically to diabetes care too. I know we just got our annual package for our renewal in the mail this week, and I did notice that. So our insurance is starting to specifically cover support and education with diabetes. So good. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that good?
Yeah, it is. Yes, more and more companies are branching out, to cover these types of services because they're so needed. Most people with diabetes get 10 to 15 minutes with their provider every 3 months, if that, right? Yeah, right? And so there's so many topics that can be covered to bridge that gap and to fill in, the holes. And so I work for My Diabetes Tutor, and I'm also a certified pump trainer for Insulin, which is Omnipod.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
That's a long story to sum it all up.
No, I love it. It gives us a picture, and that's very, very helpful. So do you want to start? Well, let's start with, why do you think, and I know everybody's story is different. There are some people that are diagnosed that almost immediately get on a pump. It's so individual, so specific. So people come to you, you're meeting people at different levels of diagnosis or times of diagnosis. Why do you think they decide to try out an insulin pump?
Most times, they've done their homework, because there's a lot out there now on insulin pumps on, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, so forth. And they've either talked with their physician about it and their physician has recommended it, or they will have a friend, right? A friend or a family member that says, oh, I have this new Medtronic or T-Slim or Omnipod or the new bionic pancreas. They'll have something new and they'll see, the friend will show them, how wonderful it is.
Yeah.
And they get that feedback and they're like, okay, I need to consider this.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it really does come down to, you were mentioning at the beginning about their lifestyle and their decisions to make that. Is there anything like to compare? And my listeners know that I am MDI. So I'm 41 plus. My gosh, I'm coming up on 42 before you know it. So I've been on injections since day one. And you and I even talked before when we first met.
Yes.
And I think, and maybe this is the point of this hour, is maybe you're going to open my eyes to the possibility of getting on a pump. I will never say never to that. Just like anything in life, I've got my eyes and I'm open to learning more to make that decision. Right. But I'm one of the oddballs. I don't know. Cause statistically, I don't think there's too many of us, especially living this long with the disease. I think at some point in 40 years for the average person managing type 1, they're willing to just say, okay, I'm done with the injections. I just want to, I'm hop on and try a pump. Right. I think with myself, it's really my lifestyle. And I think, because I wear a CGM that's attached to my body. I have no problem with that. I love, love, love my Dexcom. So thankful for it. But at this point, I can't, the pros of wearing a pump do not outscore the pros of what I'm able to do with MDI. I keep consistent and on track very simply. And that's just me though. It's so individual. It's working for me for many years now and it continues to work. So if it ain't broken, I'm not going to fix it quite yet. Right. But this is exciting for me to learn more because I myself can just feel overwhelmed with all the choices out there. Right. So I will be the first one to say, because I coach a lot of ladies that most of them, I think there's 2 out of the 8 that I'm currently working one-on-one with that are on injections. The rest are using an insulin pump and they're using different systems and different, different ways. So it's interesting because I'm in it, but I'm not really in it. So I'm close to it, but and that's not, and part of my coaching is not on that management. That is definitely something they work with their doctor and their educators on. All I do is support and just try to equip them with what to, the lifestyle that kind of builds around those, that choice for the insulin and the doses and all that good stuff. So anyway, so that is kind of where I am personally at. So what do you think? And then, you mentioned it too, that, we have that choice, even if you want to try one out. Right. And obviously, hopefully your insurance and, you have that support with the cost of it there, you can always go back.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can. So the point of this podcast then is for me to convince you, right, Melissa?
Well, stay tuned, right?
I know.
We got some more talking to do. So we'll see what, right.
Yes. No. So I would say the number one benefit that I hear from most patients, because I talk with several patients, many patients throughout the last 3 years, the one overall benefit that I hear that people love from going on an insulin pump, especially, and I would say this is just this is geared towards the automated insulin delivery, the closed loop systems that are automated. The one benefit that they say that is just so nice is very, very peaceful nights.
Understood.
And I can agree. I would say I've worn this current pump that I have right now. I've worn for about 1.5 years, and 98% of the time, maybe even 99%, I am completely and totally in range and never have a high blood sugar or a low blood sugar through the night. It does a very, very good job to put yourself to bed in between 120 and 140 or whatever you're comfortable putting yourself to bed at. And it will keep you there all night long.
Yes.
And that is That's beautiful.
It is. And that is one of the feedbacks I get as well when I talked with women that are on pumps.
Yes.
And obviously a lot of them will go, and in some cases their doctor is recommending, if their A1C has not been kept in control, or that they're just kind of losing sight of that goal, that a pump would help.
Yes,
to get their
definitely.
A1C back in sort. Do you have any sort of numbers or statistics around that? Maybe the before and after, maybe somebody, I know this is something I just kind of threw at you, but generally speaking, do you see that with the people that you're helping, the significant change in an A1C level?
We do, yes. And there are studies that are out there. I don't know any specifically off the top of my head, but there is improved glycemic control with insulin pumps. The biggest thing that we see is improved, not just A1C values, but time in range. Yes, you know that.
I knew you were going to say that. Yes.
Yes. And
awesome.
This is another data point that I've been studying recently, is the standard deviation. And I don't know if you've ever looked at that in your Dexcom Clarity report, but that is how much you're deviating from the norm, right? So does your graph look like the Rocky Mountains, or does it look like the rolling hills, right? And oftentimes, I'm currently putting together some data for my current patients that I'm working with, to analyze that standard deviation, to see if, oftentimes I will see their graph turns from the Rocky Mountains to the rolling hills, and more time in range, improved time in range, and a lower standard deviation. So
nice.
So
those
they're
are the
getting
true numbers.
Yes, they're getting better control and an improved A1C. So stay tuned for my data.
Yes, I love that. And you bring up a good point too. And I follow a lot of functional medicine doctors. Dr. Mark Hyman is one that I follow a lot. And he just did a podcast on his show recently about metabolic health and insulin. And I won't get into all the specifics, but it's so much more than the A1C. A1C is just an average.
It is.
And, patients like ourselves, or people that we work with, they will tell, I've heard these stories, unfortunately, where they go to the doctor and the doctor's like, you're fine. Your A1C is 6.2. Oh no, I'm not fine. And just like what you say, it's a Rocky Mountain roller coaster.
Yes. It's because I'm having severe highs and severe lows, or more severe lows. And that's why it's at 6.2, right?
Right. That average. But it's really what's going on throughout the day and the night. And it determines how we feel, how we live.
It is. We need quality sleep. We really need quality sleep. You know that.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
So that's definitely a benefit that from myself, my daughter, and I hear from patients. It's so nice to have peaceful nights with this automated insulin delivery system that is on the market. One of these 4 products. Yes.
Nice. Well, let's hear about these products, because I know you're going to share some with us. Tell us all the ins and outs and the details.
Oh, so many.
Or as much as we can, because I'm not sure the listeners have a pen and pencil, but they can definitely refer to, I'm going to be linking a lot of this in the show notes too. And I think, obviously a lot of this information may be on these, the manufacturers' websites and all that. But what's nice about you coming in and talking about it is that you have a real life experience. You live with it. You wear at least one of these, I'm sure you're going to be talking about. So that's where it's more relatable. So I appreciate you here sharing it with everybody.
Yes. Well, let's talk about what's out there.
Okay.
Let's do. Yes. So the first one, and I've worn every one of these. So there's pros and cons to both. And I will talk about the newest product that is on the market for these companies. The first one is the Medtronic 780G. And of course, yes, you can go to the manufacturer website for all of these, and YouTube, TikTok, there's Facebook, there's so much information out there. I would say use caution with doing your research and do your best to stick with the manufacturer website, because there is some stuff out there that may be questionable.
Right.
For people, you know, that maybe on the Facebook groups where they're not moderated by.
That's very true. That's
Yes.
a really good point to bring out. And not to mention
Yes.
all the YouTube channels, because everybody's got a video about this, that, and the other. So
Yes.
yeah, it's important that we know where we're getting the information from. So
Exactly. Make sure you have a credible source, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and if you do take in some information from other, you know, sources, you know, refer back to the manufacturer website to clarify that, or talk with your physician or a diabetes educator, of course. So Medtronic 780G, it is an automated insulin delivery system. It has a tube. That's one of the main features. Is it's a tube pump. We'll find that there's either tube or tubeless, and so it has a lot of great features. The most beneficial feature that for all of these pumps is the automated control. And what that means in the background is, in the background for the basal rate, which is the background insulin, it will start to adjust. It will take the sensor readings, and it will start to adjust when your blood sugars are going high. According to the algorithm and what is programmed by your physician and the doctor, it will start to give you a little bit more insulin in the background to catch that high. And of course, when you go low, here's your quiz, Melissa. What does it what does it do when you're going lower? It's predicting that you're going to be going low. What do you think?
I'm assuming it goes into some sort of a shutdown mode or a pause. I don't know the term.
Exactly.
Is that the right? Yes. It says, okay, no more.
Yes.
I'm going to close the door. Yeah.
A plus, you pass.
All right.
So it does. So it will automatically pause or suspend or cut back that insulin. There's also activity modes for when you are active that you can, yes, tell the pump.
Switch it over.
Yes. And then when you go to take a meal, you have to tell it how many carbohydrates you're eating. And it has all of that information programmed into it for your insulin to carb ratio by your physician. And it will recommend a dose for you according to how many carbohydrates you eat. So you still have to bolus and tell it, you know, how many carbohydrates you're eating, but then that automation is happening in the background. So
that is really cool. You know what I like about this is, and this brings up a topic. I was just meeting with a client this past week, and one of the things that she's working on, because she's on a pump, and is that she's realizing that her lifestyle habits are pointing to more insulin, and her pump is really kind of taking over that point. So one of the things that she's working on is to looking at those total daily units, which is part of, you know, and I believe she's seeing that on her pump. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, obviously on her pump, because she's connected with Dexcom. But that's just another marker. It's so cool that we get to have these markers that we can, and not to like micromanage it, but to learn, to learn that what we're doing, eating, stress, all the things that affect our glucose and the need for insulin. It obviously that, you know, the pump's doing the work, but I think it's really important. And then she's excited about that fact that, she does have a lot more, I guess control is the word, but you know, to be able to recognize what's working, what's not working, you know, because her ultimate goal is to lose a little bit of weight. So that's the ultimate goal. But of course, what we're doing is reflecting, you know, the weight, but the insulin is just it's just responding accordingly. So, but that's kind of a marker to use.
Yeah. You know, definitely. It's fascinating. You know, all the data that is being, you know, being analyzed by these closed loop or automated systems. So the second one, let's go into the second one. It's called the Tandem, and Tandem T-Slim with Control IQ, and refer to Tandem's website. I have worn this pump as well. Loved it. It talks, of course, I say talk. It talks with Dexcom. The 780 Medtronic actually, the 780G that we mentioned earlier, it actually has its own sensor, not Dexcom. But Tandem does that. And it also has a tube and various infusion sites, just like 780G. 780G actually has an extended infusion site where it lasts a week. Other sites usually only last 3 days. We have the patient change them out every 3 days. So, but anyway, so that's the Tandem T-Slim. And same automated delivery in the background, and then you let it know how many carbs you eat for a meal bolus. So so that's the second one, and like I say, refer to the website for more information.
Okay.
The third one is
that just so I just interrupt you for a minute. So is the T-Slim tubed or tubeless?
It does have a tube.
It does have a tube. Okay.
But there's a new
okay.
Yeah, there is a new version of the T-Slim. It's a smaller version with a tube that's very, very tiny. And I want to say it's the T-Slim Mini, but now I'm not.
Slimmer. Maybe they'll call it the Slimmer.
Yes, Slimmer. I believe it's called the T-Slim Mobi.
Okay.
And it's a very, very tiny tube pump.
Okay.
So yes, and refer to their website for that. I'm definitely not a representative of Tandem. And so I don't want to misquote. Gotcha. That's why I say just refer to the website.
Absolutely.
But it is a very small tube pump as well. So Tandem has a variety of products out there. But like I said, I think the number one thing for all of these pumps is the automated control.
The automated,
yeah, in the background. So the next pump, the iLet, we call it the bionic pancreas. It's new.
I love it.
New, just recently FDA approved. I've seen it, and I actually just received it.
Oh, yes. Wow, goodness.
Because I tell you, I like to try everything. I don't represent one company, right? And not one size fits all. So this is a bionic pancreas. Very, very simple. You put in your weight. There's just a few, it's very simple programming, just a few parameters that you enter into the pump. And then guess what? You let it go. And the difference with this bionic pancreas, one of the main differences is all you have to say is, I'm eating a meal.
Oh my goodness.
You don't have to count carbs.
Really? So you're just prompting it that there's carbs getting ready to come on board.
Yes. Here we go. Get ready for the carbs. Yes.
Here we go.
Yes. And so more to come on this pump, because I believe you can specify whether it's a small, medium, or large meal.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. Okay. And you just let it know. You don't have to tell it how many carbohydrates. And you do some very simple programming. Like I said, I'm just getting started on this next week.
Used to it. Okay.
Yeah, I'll be starting it next week with a trainer. I'm waiting for the formal training to come through.
Gotcha. Now, what does the look and is it tubed or tubeless? Tubed. Okay, it is tubed. Okay.
Yes, it has a tube, and it's about comparable in size and weight to the other pumps with tubes. Okay. And same pretty much infusion sets. It is approved for a quicker acting insulin, and the other tubeless and tubed pumps are not. And so, yes, I will be trying that faster acting insulin in it called FIASP. FIASP. And so it does have FIASP cartridges that are available for it. So maybe we should have done this podcast in a couple of weeks so I could tell you more about it, right?
The timing of it, right?
Yes.
Definitely. That is so interesting. So does the iLet, so it's ISLET, iLet, obviously, because that is what we're talking about, the iLet beta cells.
Right.
Is it synced with a CGM, or can it?
It is with Dexcom.
It does. Well, that is really good.
Yes. So it's
really good.
Yeah, it's talking to Dexcom G6, of course.
Okay. Nothing's talking to G7 quite yet, as of this recording, at least.
Yes.
I know there's a lot of.
Yes, that was one of my next points. Yes, be careful, because a lot of patients will change to the G7. We said, oh, wait, the G7 doesn't work with pumps quite yet. So
it's true. Yeah.
Be careful.
Definitely holding off. Yes. I am on the G7. Gee, imagine that, because I'm MDI. I can do that right now.
You can. And you're
the rest of you will be. I love it. Yeah.
I was going to say you're loving it. Yes.
Yeah. Really good.
I get great feedback from G6 and G7, and the other sensors for people who are using other sensors with MDI as well. The Libre 2 and 3. Yes. We get great feedback from all of them. So the last pump I'd like to talk about is the one that I'm currently wearing, and it is Omnipod 5. So here we go. Drum roll. This is your tubeless pump.
Tubeless.
Yes, tubeless. And so nice. It is a little pod that is, oh, what can I compare it to as far as the size? I would say probably the size of 2 of the Dexcom G6 and maybe just a little bit higher in profile.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah.
Yeah, as wide as 2 of the G6s together. And if we weren't on a podcast, I would bring my Omnipod out of my drawer and show it to everybody. But you can see it online and see about how big it is.
Absolutely.
But it is a tubeless pump that you can wear for I say 2 to 3 days. Now at day 3, the pod expires, but it only holds 200 units of insulin. So people who are on a higher amount of insulin, the pod may run out at day 2 or 2.5.
Okay. Again,
yeah,
that's
and they would have to change it then. Yes.
Individual situation.
Yes.
So if you wouldn't mind, I have a question about that. So
sure.
So the fact that you have to remove it because it's out of insulin. So day 3 for most everybody, could you wear it longer?
No, on day 3, it will expire.
Okay. So it does expire. So the system itself, it just times out.
It does. And it will give you notifications. The one thing about Omnipod 5 that I love is it's very user-friendly. Yeah, and when the pod is ready to expire or it's running out of insulin, it will prompt you and it guides you through step by step how to change the pod.
Real important. Yeah.
With pictures on the screen. So we have many people who have type 2 diabetes on insulin who are older, and their physicians are referring them to Omnipod 5 because it's so simple to use.
I love that.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's so user-friendly, and it's tubeless, so it's very easy to insert. It's very easy to change it out, and it's very easy to learn how to operate.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
Yes.
Awesome. And it syncs with the G6 right at this point.
Correct.
With the Dexcom. Okay.
Yes.
Now, does that one also sync with the Libre?
It doesn't. Currently, Libre doesn't sync with any insulin pump.
I did not know that. Okay, there again, I'm learning today. I just assumed that they were syncing with at least some of them. Okay.
Yeah, they don't.
Okay.
Not yet. I know that's in the works. And I believe G7 will be the first one to sync with Tandem. That is up and coming. I've received some recent information about that.
They're getting close. They're getting
close. Yes, Tandem T-Slim, the second pump that I talked about, will be syncing with G7 very soon. So
very cool.
Yes. Well, but in summary,
go ahead. Yeah, please.
Yes, in summary, those are the 4 main insulin pumps that are on the market right now. One is tubeless, the Omnipod 5, and the other 3 have tubes.
Okay, that's really good information. Really good. So what, I want to talk just pros and cons here, but what's sometimes we hear too many of the negatives from, and maybe it's things we hear on social media or just, the community of the reason a lot of people will jump off of a pump it's frustration, it's failure. What do you think is the main driver of that? And again, you did mention that this is still an individual decision. So maybe a pump based on someone's lifestyle is not a fit. And that's definitely part of the equation, I think, right? So sometimes we got to look at ourselves and what we're doing or maybe not doing, not with judgment, just who we are.
Right.
But I hear different things, and I take it with a grain of salt because I know everybody's story and situation is just so unique. But what do you think those hiccups that people tend to have? And is there ways to kind of maybe, I think it goes right back to education, right? Getting the support with the use.
Right. Definitely. So why they may try a pump and turn back? Is that your question?
Yeah. And, just those common things that we hear where people are just not having a good experience using a pump.
Right. Well, I do have a couple friends that have turned back, and I could let you know some of their feedback. I had a friend that I used to work with in Omaha, and she, it was too complicated. too
Okay.
complicated, right? A lot of
Okay.
them are just too complicated to navigate. And back then, of course, they weren't automated, right? So the basal
Mm-hmm.
rate was set, the background basal rate was set. It wasn't adjusting in the background according to their sensor readings, right? And
Okay.
so, you would still have maybe some lows and some highs, especially through the night,
Okay.
or after the meals or whatnot. So I would say maybe it's just too complicated, or the settings might not be right. That insulin to carb ratio may need to be fine tuned. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I say it's very important when you get on a pump to learn about
Mm-hmm.
when the insulin is peaking, right?
Yeah.
And what type of insulin you're using, and work with your physician and especially your diabetes educator,
Uh-huh. Yes.
myself, because there's constant controls that
Yeah.
can be, there's constant parameters that can be adjusted. We
Mm-hmm.
go through phases in our life to where we're maybe having some hormone adjustments and we're eating more
Mm-hmm.
than normal, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
insulin
Mm-hmm.
to carb ratio may need to be adjusted. As we get older, we get more insulin resistant,
Right.
even with type 1 in some people.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, it could be too complicated. It just couldn't have been a good fit, maybe because they lack the education needed, right? The needed
Mm-hmm.
education. And then, like your case, maybe it's just you're very, very active. I know another friend who is an avid swimmer, and
Mm.
swimming is one of those things that is, even though they are waterproof, right?
Mm-hmm.
But and splash proof, and you can, with the tubes, you can disconnect, of course,
Mm-hmm.
when you go in the pool.
Yeah.
And but even with that, consideration, you know, um, swimming, if you're in the water a lot, maybe a challenge.
Yeah.
And
That makes sense. Again, it
yeah,
doesn't fit with some people's lifestyle, yeah, based on that.
it's
It's
true.
funny you bring this up because my husband has type 1 diabetes. And when I first met
Okay.
him, because we've been married 10 years now, because he's been type 1 for about 35 years. So he was diagnosed around 20. But he
Okay.
was he was on a pump forever. When we first met, he was on a pump. He was on a Medtronic at that time.
Okay.
And he went on a surf trip, and because he goes on a lot of surf trips, but this one particular, he decided to just leave it at home. He was going to a remote area
Okay.
that it was one of those where he didn't want to take a chance of it getting stolen, just based on where he was going to be and his supplies for that day being in the water. So he
Right.
literally just disconnected, left it at home, and he went on MDI
Mm-hmm.
and because he had that as a backup. I'm not even sure how gosh, it was so many years ago. I don't remember how he got the actual insulin pens. I don't know. It doesn't really matter at this point when I think back
Right.
to all those details. But he actually he liked it. And when he came back, because he's in the water a lot. So there's a lot of
Right.
submersion in water. And that was always kind of something he had to deal with. So to this day, I think it was before we got married is when he switched over to MDI, and he and I have the same insulin therapy. So
Okay.
it just goes to show you.
Right.
Yeah, but get this, you're going to like
Okay.
this.
Okay. Let's hear it.
He's considering going back on one. So this is really good information. So the Omnipod 5 is one that he's considering. So we're definitely learning
Okay.
more. But then you come in and talk about this islet bionic pancreas. So that's another one that I'm definitely going to be researching a little bit more on, just to see if maybe that would be a fit for him. So it just goes
Yes.
to show you too. And you brought up a good point with hormones too. That's something I talk a lot about on this show, because that's really the
Right.
phase that my listeners are in.
Right.
And yeah, we do lose insulin sensitivity when we get older. That's that hormonal shift that does happen. And
Right.
as we're getting older, we're losing muscle, and that's decreasing insulin sensitivity. There's always a reason for things, right? There's always a root reason.
Oh,
But
there
it's
is.
important to have a system, whether it's MDI
Yes.
or a pump, that's going to support these ever-going changes. I mean, change is
Yes.
something we can always um,
And
expect,
yes, and to your husband's point, I do occasionally take a pump break,
That's a good
and
point.
yes,
Yes, I
and
know of other
just
people that do too.
yes, the rigors of diabetes are tough. And, if you're like, okay, I'm just having some trouble lately, more than normal, things are changing in my life a little bit. It's summertime. I'm going to be swimming a lot,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, be
And
able to make that
so,
choice. Yeah.
yes, I change my work with my doctor and change myself to MDI therapy, and do that for a couple months just to give your self a little break and to switch it up. Right.
Yeah. Is that something that's easy to do? Because I've heard good and bad stories again about people that have done that transition, going back and forth and just trying to kind of realign their basal rates and the different types of insulin. Do you see that? Obviously, working with an educator would definitely be help. Just so, that first week, I think just getting back on MDI might be some challenge.
Right. And definitely with the educator and with your physician as well. Most people can do it with the support of their physician, right? We're looking for the long acting, that basal rate.
And it's all about the basal rate.
Basal rate will transfer over to the long acting. And then, of course, the short acting with the insulin to carb ratio.
Yeah.
And so, most of the time it's pretty seamless, and not many people have a lot of problems with it, especially with the help of their physician.
Okay. And that's really good to know. Yeah.
And educator, some educators, depending on what physician they work for, are able to collaborate with the physician and make those adjustments and assist patients in making that transformation. I think it depends on, what physician and what educator they're working with.
It sure does. Yeah, you brought up a lot of good points. Yeah, getting help. We can't do diabetes alone.
No, it definitely.
We need a good support system.
And it takes an army.
It sure does. And, it's good to have a good physician that supports your needs and listens. But having outside source like yourself and myself, just, some other ladies, not only do we help, but we also live with it. So
we do.
We totally understand. Yeah.
We have a deeper understanding, don't we? We do. And we live it day to day. And even with these pumps, I still do have some highs and lows. Just myself in point, though, talking about pump therapy, when I do take a pump break, I've noticed in my own self that my A1C does go up, and then getting back on the pump. Now on this new pump, I've had probably the best control that I've had since I was pregnant, with an A1C at 6.4.
Nice,
so
nice.
Okay. So it's working for me right now. Right. And then I will change, of course, to this bionic pancreas, and I will look at the statistics after a few months too.
Yes, so we'll definitely have to check in with you.
Yes. We're constantly analyzing and finding out what works and changing things up, because I think we need a variety too. Right.
Absolutely.
Because it's mundane and it's rigorous. And, so if you have, the flexibility to try these different products, of course, with health insurance, maybe people don't have that luxury that I have.
True. That's another whole part of it. Yes, myself included. We are very blessed to have a really good coverage. So, and it's important not to take that for granted, for sure.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why when you are, making a change, do your homework and definitely use these appropriate resources, the pump manufacturer sites to get your information.
Yeah, perfect. And that kind of leads me to where I wanted to kind of close, because what would you say? So if there's steps, let's say you're talking, you could speak to me because I'm sitting here still MDI, not on a pump. So what would you say the steps for our listeners, myself included, can take to make this decision, whether it's getting on a pump or a specific pump? What would be the first step?
Well, I would definitely talk to your doctor.
Okay. Obviously start with the doctor. Yeah.
Yes. Especially if you have,
going.
Yes. I hope that you would have a physician that you trust and like, and that is collaborative with you. Definitely talk with a doctor. Some doctors may not support it and may have certain reasons, and you may feel differently. Right. And so if the doctor is not in support of that, you could possibly talk with a different physician.
Right. I like that idea. Absolutely.
There's, because sometimes physicians might have certain reasons and you don't agree with or understand. I sometimes feel like we have to be our own advocate.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Funny you bring that up. Yes. I'm going to be doing an episode on that, not in the very near future. That's already on the calendar. So that's a very, very hot topic.
Yes.
And, that's true. Even all the years and all the different physicians I've had, endocrinologists, they're not all on board with all of the systems either.
Yes, some of them aren't.
Yeah. So it's real important to not just go in and have the conversation, say, I want to get on a pump. And then they send you to an educator that recommends one particular pump.
Right.
That's a little scary because you want to have options. You want to do, listening to this show, I'm hoping helps to equip them in that sense to ask these questions, to don't just choose the first one that's offered to you, to definitely do the due diligence with that. So that's real important. Yeah.
Definitely. So yes, talk with your doctor and then do your own homework, because there's so much out there. It's not like, where we had to go to the library to find back in the 80s, right? To find information
is there.
Yeah. Yes, it's right there at your fingertips on your phone and your computer. And so do that. And then I would say, do your best to talk with a couple of people who wear it.
That is good.
Yeah. Yes. If you're saying I'm leaning towards the Tandem T-Slim for these reasons, or the Omnipod 5 for these reasons, I would say do your best to reach out to somebody who wears it, and do your best to get some feedback.
Absolutely.
Because nothing like personal experience. Right?
Yeah, just to have a conversation with somebody. That kind of reminds me of, and I believe you're connected, or you're familiar with the Diabetes Sisters organization.
I've heard of them. Yes.
Yes. I lead a pause meetup here in right here where I live in my city, and the conversations we have, it's great because I think that is the best education, and then I have some support groups that I have among my coaching circle too, that we get together. There's magic in that, because, you get to learn, you get to hear other stories, things to ask the doctor, things to bring up.
Yes.
And sometimes we don't even know of these certain, all these different options out there until we talk and we open up those conversations. So we learn the most from each other, for sure.
Definitely. And I really don't mind providing an email if somebody would like to reach out with me with specific questions.
We'd love that. That would be great.
We could put our email at the end of this podcast if we
Sounds good. Yeah.
But I think it's kind of like similar to buying a car, right? You go to Consumer Reports and you go to the dealership, and then you go to another dealership, right? And you do your due diligence and your homework, and you said, okay, I think I'm going to give this a try. And then, of course, if it doesn't work out, you can always go back to injections, and you can find what works for you. Definitely. Because you're dealing with it every day.
Yeah. And a lot of these companies too, because you've been associated with many of them to wear their systems. They will give you is it kind of a trial or a testing? How does that work? Is there a time where you can maybe test one out?
Yeah. I would say refer to their websites. Some of them have offered that. Some have offered that in the past, and some do and some don't.
Okay.
I know Omnipod used to send you just a sample one to look over and just stick on, but not fill up.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. I would say just look at their websites, because they may still offer some or they may not. They change those offers from time to time. So
that is true. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And just real life experience. I think talking with your doctor and then talking with the people who wear it is going to give you the best feedback. So, and feel free to ever, if anybody needs to drop me an email, should I give that now? Or
you sure can, but I'll definitely link it in the show notes. So I was going to ask how people can get in touch with you. This has been invaluable. I've learned a lot. I appreciate it. You. It's definitely inspired me to not shut that door ever. It's definitely, it's always going to be a consideration for myself, as just like everybody else out there, just to, to choose what's the best path.
Right. Definitely.
For managing this T1D.
Oh, it is. It's an hour by hour disease, but we're doing our best. We are. And yes, thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm glad we were able to connect and talk. And I'm always willing to help my fellow, I call them diabuddies. My diabuddies. Love that term. It's fun. Let's be diabuddies, because I'm always willing to help people, because I live it with you right there day to day. And you know what? We're gonna keep doing our best and stay healthy.
We sure are. That's right. Get up every day with hope. Yes, there is hope, there's opportunity, and there's people out there that care. So definitely reach out. So share your, I can link your, we're going to find a way to link and get people in touch with you. I know, do you have a website?
We do.
That is associated with Diabetes Tutors?
Yes, mydiabetestutor.com.
Okay.
TUTOR, My Diabetes Tutor. And the website is there. There's a contact us form, or I really don't mind if people reach out with questions via email.
Okay.
And it is Baxter, S and then BAXTER at mydiabetestutor.com.
There we go. And
virtual,
I will put all, I'm sorry. Yeah. And we'll link all this in the show notes to make it easy for everybody.
Sure.
Very good.
Virtual diabetes education. And we're there to help people with the day-to-day rigors. And we need all the support we can get.
We sure do. We sure do. That's right. Well, I will link all that. And, if you've got some time in the future, we'd love for you to come back and talk about the islet bionic pancreas. So give you some time to test it out and get the feel for it. And maybe you can come back and we can record another time with you. Yeah.
Yes.
That would be great. Yeah.
Yes. Like I said, there's pros and cons with each pump, and I love to try them all out. And I have the lucky blessing, or the blessing, to be able to do that with my health insurance from years to year. Sometimes you have to wait for those warranties to expire, but some of them go through your prescription benefit, so you get a little bit more flexibility in trying different systems out. And so, yes, I'd love to come back and talk about how this is a miraculous pump, I'm hoping.
I'm going to see if it checks all the boxes, right?
Yes, and I'm sure it will. They're a fabulous company. I've been in touch with them many times now, working out getting this bionic pancreas, as the other companies are. They are good companies. Yes, they have really great customer service and extensive websites with a lot of information. And so no matter which route you go, I'm sure hopefully you will find the best fit for you. So.
Yes, perfect.
Yes.
Well, thanks again, Stormie. It's just a pleasure to meet you and to get to know you. And everything you've shared today has been very, very valuable.
Oh, thank you for having me. And yes, stay tuned for episode 2, right? Coming up in the future.
Yes. We're going to put that on the calendar here as soon as we get done talking today, listeners. So stay tuned. Yes. Well, everybody, we enjoy, and again, I will link all of Stormie's contacts here in the show notes. So be sure to look for that. And please reach out with any questions. You know where to find me. I'm on Instagram at Blood Sugar Boss. And we hope to hear from you. And we'll see you back in here next week. Same time, same place. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Type 1 and Midlife podcast. And be sure to subscribe, rate, and review right here on iTunes. And you're invited to connect with our Type 1 and Midlife community on the free Honey Health app. Here we discuss the podcast topics in a group chat, a chance for you to ask questions and take action on what we share here on the show. You can find the app link to download for free right here in the show notes. And for free resources, you can visit me at abundanthealthwithmelissa.com. And your support means so much. Thank you.